Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Canandaigua, one of the true jewels of the Finger Lakes region. We have some introductions before we go to the program. Some acknowledgments I want to make here. First, our Assembly Majority Leader, Joe Morelli, is here. I want to welcome the leader. Wayne County Board of Supervisors, Jim Hoffman, is here. The Ontario County Board of Supervisors Chairman, Jack Marin, is here. Our Finger Lakes Community College President, Barbara Risser, is here. And also from the Assembly, Bob Oakes. I want to welcome all of them and give a little round of applause. Our speaking program, and each one will come up afterwards. After I do some introductory comments, Richard Sanz will speak, followed by Governor Cuomo, followed by Senator Mike Nozzolio, followed by Minority Leader Brian Cole from the Assembly, followed by Mayor Ellen Palomini. So we have a very special program. Just very briefly, today is a great announcement, which will be made in a few minutes. But one thing I want to say is I've had the pleasure for the last 4 years of working with this governor. And I can't think of anybody in my memory who has invested more in upstate New York and made more of an impact in upstate, let alone the Finger Lakes region, than Governor Cuomo. And this is one more example today. He's invested in the wine industry, wine, yogurt, beer, spirits. You go to Eastman Business Park in Rochester, the agricultural industry, all of these industries that are so important out in the Finger Lakes region. He has invested very, very heavily and made a huge difference over the last 4 years. You can see it, you can feel it everywhere you go. We have world-class wines and agriculture in this area, and it didn't happen by accident. And what this governor's done is looked at some of the impediments that these industries have had and invested. And time again, I have the pleasure of driving around and going to the fruits of those investments, and an awful lot of miles get put on the road because they are all over the place. And you drive around the Finger Lakes and you can see it and feel it in this region. And today's announcement is a perfect example of that. Upstate is on the move. And this governor knows where upstate is, and I want to thank him personally for being a resident up here and really enjoying and loving the beauty of this Finger Lakes region, what he has done. And you'll hear in a few minutes one more example of that. Yesterday we were in Seneca Falls at ITT Gould's Pumps with both Mike Nozzolio and Brian Kolb. One more investment. New jobs, big expansion, world-class company there, and it keeps on going on and on. So I want to thank the governor and thank him for taking time to be here today for part of this. Now it gives me great pleasure. Our second speaker, before he comes up, is a person I've had the pleasure of knowing for many years. I don't even need a note. Richard Sanz is the chair of the board of Constellation Brands. And Constellation Brands is a company that was formed in 1945 by Richard and Rob's father, Marvin Sanz. It is the largest wine producer in the world. It's headquartered right here in Victor, New York, an upstate company, almost 5,000 employees. It is a huge force. And Richard, I call him Dr. Sanz actually, he's a PhD, has been chairing the board. He and his brother Rob have done a phenomenal job. They've created such an economic force in this region. They have done so much. We're in one of their facilities right here, CMAC, which is absolutely beautiful. But I want to publicly thank him for what he has done, for putting this area on the map, for investing and creating jobs. And really, it's a great alignment today, a great team with Governor Cuomo and Richard Sanz. So please welcome to the podium, Dr. Richard Sanz.
Well, thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor. This is truly an exciting time for Canandaigua and for New York State. To me, revitalizing this property not only makes good business sense, but it's also important for the community that I and so many of you call home. To me, the lakefront is a great source of community pride, heritage, and distinctive geographic beauty and history. So I bring a personal passion to the North Shore Development Project. I was born and raised in Canandaigua, and I want to ensure that the development of this property aligns with the overall economic development plans for Canandaigua and protects the natural beauty and integrity of the area for generations to come. Today, we are celebrating a moment at which economic development combines with the unique attributes of our area and results in benefits for residents and visitors, businesses and citizens alike. The project at the center of today's announcement is one of several that the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council has championed in our efforts to continue to improve our region. And for those of you who haven't heard of the regional economic development councils, as someone with years of experience in the private sector, I can tell you that these councils really work. They are really the right approach to bringing government and business together to get things done. Since Governor Cuomo put these councils into effect, there has been great strides made in New York State and in our region. So not only will this development fulfill a long-standing vision for the North Shore of Canandaigua Lake, it will also serve as a catalyst for other economic activity and private investment. The development will increase the area's tax base by as much as 8 to 10% in the long term. It will create 400 construction jobs and 175 permanent jobs, and will complement the many attractions and activities already in this area, further positioning Canandaigua as the center for regional tourism and truly making Canandaigua the chosen spot. Many people have recognized how long it has taken to make this project a reality, and I would like to take a moment to thank the members of the CADC, that's the Canandaigua Area Development Corporation, George Hamlin, I saw him there, Danny Wegman, Steve Eubing, and Jeff Astles. These folks, along with the persistence of David Ginecco, whose vision for the North Shore property never wavered, is a true tribute to everyone's commitment to our community. I also want to thank the school district, the city, the county, and community members who stand behind thoughtful progress that will improve our city. And to the newly formed Morgan LaChase Partnership, which brings together a prominent developer and construction company. Thank you, Bob Morgan. Bob, there's Bob, Bill Goodrich, Dave Hanlon, and the team that stands behind you and beside you. Together, your dedication and hard work will bring this 23-year in-the-making project to a reality for all of us. I'd like to thank the Lieutenant Governor Duffy, Senator Nozzolio, and Assemblyman Kolb for their support and their recognition of the impact that this project will have on the Finger Lakes region's economic development. Revitalizing this property was a priority for the CADC, and we really would not be able to make this happen without the support of Governor Cuomo and the community. Governor, I want to thank you as well for your work over the past 4 years to change the culture and attitude of state government when it comes to growing the economy. We haven't heard a governor talk about and actually deliver on cutting taxes, and we thank you for that. And we haven't seen a state government focus on taking into account the needs of the private sector. And it's a relief to businesses here in the Finger Lakes region that this administration has cut red tape and made New York a more friendly place to do business. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce our governor, who has been a strong advocate for this project, the Finger Lakes region, and our great state. Please join me in welcoming Governor Andrew Cuomo. Governor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Seneca's named Canandaigua because the meaning is the chosen spot, and you can really see why it is the chosen spot being here today in this beautiful facility with this weather, with this group of people. First, to Dr. Sanz, We love your wine, first and foremost. We applaud your business success, which has been extraordinary. And we deeply appreciate your responsibility as a corporate citizen. There are a lot of businesses that do well and forget their responsibility to the community. And you are the exact opposite, sir. So let's give Dr. Sanz a round of applause. Mayor Polmeni, pleasure to be with you. My colleague, Senator Mike Nizzolio, and Minority Leader Brian Cole, pleasure to be with you. Pleasure to be with you outside of Albany, especially. And kudos to Mike and Brian. We've had a good 4 years in Albany. We changed the basic operating dynamic in Albany. The change was it basically wasn't operating before. We passed 4 budgets on time in a row that hadn't been done in 40 years. Yeah. And we tried it a different way. We started off 4 years ago saying, look, we're Democrats, we're Republicans, but we're New Yorkers first. And if you let the politics get in the way, that's then gridlock. And then nothing happens. That's Washington, D.C. And once you have gridlock and once you have paralysis, everyone gets hurt. So let's try to do it a different way, and let's leave the politics at the door, and let's figure out what's right for the state and the people we serve in the first place, and let's get that done. And it has worked, and it has worked for 4 years, and I credit these 2 gentlemen for making it happen. One more round of applause. And I want them to get plenty of applause because I'm about to steal their announcement of the funding for the project, you see, which is really their labor. So I'll do it with less guilt. And not that much less guilt, but to Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy. I tell you, I could not have had a better partner for these 4 years than Bob Duffy. He's been all over the state. Everyone says the same thing. He's just the most extraordinary public servant they've met. I worked with him. I was Attorney General. He was mayor of Rochester. And when I first talked to him about Lieutenant Governor, he was not eager to do it. He said, look, I'm all about Rochester. I'm very simple. I'm a Finger Lakes guy, and I want to focus on this area. And my point to him was, I said, Bob, you want to help Rochester? You can't help Rochester from Rochester. Because Rochester's problems are bigger than Rochester. And you're never going to solve it from where you are. And Canandaigua is not going to solve their problems from Canandaigua. And Buffalo is not going to solve their problems from Buffalo because it's an upstate problem. Some of it statewide, but certainly an upstate problem. So the way to help Rochester is to come to Albany and get the state government working and doing what it should be doing, and then you'll allow Rochester to do what Rochester can do. And that, I think, is what put Bob over the line. And that's exactly what we've been focusing on for 4 years. Dr. Sanz said it. First was taxes. You have no future as the tax capital of the nation. People are smart. Businesses are smart, and they're mobile. If you're going to pay the highest taxes in this state, they'll go to another state. Airplanes, they fly. There are other options. I know we're New Yorkers, and we think, where else could you live? Technically, there are other places you could live. They're not New York, but so getting taxes under control was important. And Dr. Sanz is exactly right. We've cut taxes to historic proportions. We brought the corporate tax rate down to as low as it's been since 1968. The manufacturing tax rate, because we want manufacturing companies coming in, especially upstate New York, down to the 1917 level. And income taxes up to $300,000 down to the lowest level since 1958. So it's not the New York that business thought of. This is a different, lower tax, business-friendly New York. The problem was the government in Albany wasn't working, period. That was the gridlock. That was the dysfunction. That was never getting a budget done on time. So a business would go to Albany and ask for help to site in New York. They couldn't even figure out how to get their own budget done, let alone how to get another project facilitated. And the truth is also, upstate New York did not get the attention it deserved. The painful but candid truth is Albany, the New York State Legislature, predominantly New York City, downstate, and that was the focus for too long. And upstate New York was not getting the help and the attention that it deserved. And we've reversed that, 180 degrees. And we took a totally different position, and we have been focused on upstate New York in a way I don't believe the state government is focused on upstate New York in modern political history. And we changed the way we do business. We call it the Regional Economic Development Councils. Why? Because we don't really have one economy in this state. We have 10 different regional economies. And what works for Long Island, what works for Western New York is different than the North Country. So you want to grow a regional economy, you have to do it from that region. That's what the Regional Economic Development Councils are all about. Bringing business, academia, politicians all together, one group, saying come up with one plan, one vision, and we'll help finance your vision for your future. That's the REDCs that Bob has run for 4 years. We also invested in industries that work all across upstate New York. We invested in tourism and got back 50 times our investment. Why? Because the more people see upstate New York, the more they want to be here. This is just a hidden jewel and a hidden secret. And when you expose the assets of upstate New York, you see the people come. You have 50 million people in downstate New York coming in as tourists. Just get them up north. So we revitalized that whole I Love New York campaign to really showcase the beauty of upstate New York. So tourism is taking off. The wine and beer industry is taking off, double the number of vineyards we had 4 years ago. They make fun of me. Yogurt is, I love yogurt. Everybody in this room should love yogurt because yogurt loves New York. And it's been a great economic generator for upstate New York. So the arrows are all pointed in the right direction. But with all of this, it still comes down to you. It still comes down to the local community, and it still comes down to you getting your act together and getting your pieces put together. You had to make this project happen. And it's always hard, by the way. I've never done a project where people say, oh, this one was simple, just sort of came together. It's not the nature of the beast. Now, 23 years, that's really hard, by the way. That goes up there in the book of records. But you did what you had to do. The government came together with the private sector. There's a vision that will enhance the entire community. It is mixed use, 400 construction jobs, 175 permanent jobs, $48 million in construction in just phase 1. This is the type of project the state will invest in all day long. And we're proud. We're proud to commit a total of $3 million in state funding on behalf of Mike and Brian and myself and the Lieutenant Governor, Joe Morelli. To make this project a reality. And the Lieutenant Governor is right. There is a new energy. You can feel it. You can see it. You can see it on people's faces. You can see it as you walk down the street. There's a new attitude about upstate New York. There's less talk about yesterday and more talk about tomorrow. There's less talk about what we were. There's more talk about what we're going to be. And that is all the difference in the world. You also see it in the numbers. We created 480,000 jobs. We created more jobs. We're number 2 in job creation since the recession in the nation. Number 2, 7.4. We have 7.4 million private sector jobs in the state of New York today, more private sector jobs than ever in the history of the state of New York. That's where we are today. And the statistic I love best, upstate New York, after all those years of pain and suffering and abandonment, the unemployment rate dropped in upstate New York over 2 points, the largest single drop in history. Congratulations, and the best is yet to be. Senator Mike Nozzolio.
Governor, one of my jobs was to welcome you. I think that welcome spoke volumes from all of the applause here today. Thank you for those remarks. Lieutenant Governor Duffy, I haven't seen you since yesterday. And just let me, a brief aside about what happened yesterday. Gould's Pumps has been a manufacturer in the Central Finger Lakes for well over 150 years. They have had their ups and downs. They're owned by a New York corporation headquartered out of White Plains, ITT Industries, a large multinational. Yesterday, Lieutenant Governor Duffy, Assemblyman Kolb, and I participated in their great celebration of a $27 million expansion, which means jobs. And Governor, those jobs that you cite, the Gould's Pumps at one time had declined to about 350 jobs. Yesterday, the CEO announced the job fill is at 1,000 jobs. So that's great news, and one that we're celebrating. And we're celebrating here today economic development in the western region of our Finger Lakes. The Ontario County is blessed with many things. And one of the things their elected officials have is patience. Thank you, Mayor Palomini, for your steadfast leadership on this important project. Governor Cuomo and I don't agree on everything. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of things that we haven't agreed on in the past. But one thing is undeniable. I've served with 5 governors, and Governor Cuomo has been more focused, more cooperative on job development projects, and he, in spite of our differences, in terms of philosophy, has sought out my opinion, has worked with us, has said, how can we partner on projects? His words today, I can certainly confirm that he is focused on jobs and economic development, has sought our opinion on how we can build, how we can partner and make good together. So, Governor, as a personal aside, thank you for your focus, your attention, and for things that really matter to people, and that's jobs. I thought I heard her being announced by the Lieutenant Governor, but we're, of course, at Great CMAC, which is on the campus of Finger Lakes Community College. And President Barbara Risser, thank you for your leadership in this great academic resource that we have. And the County Board of Supervisors, focusing on what makes things happen in the Finger Lakes, is certainly a partner with Finger Lakes Community College. And last fall, we announced the development of a over $3 million grant to establish the Viticulture Center. And those wineries that Governor Cuomo was mentioning are in large part being developed in the Finger Lakes because of the great science being done at the Cornell Experiment Station. And the vision that President Risser has seen is taking this campus from this beautiful site to other corners of the Finger Lakes. And we have, on the eastern end of this county, the Experiment Station, the applied research arm of Cornell University, doing world-class research on agricultural production for many, many years. This year, we are going to be opening the Viticulture Center. Finger Lakes Community College, the Sanz have been, and Constellation has been a bullish supporter of that important program. Governor, we want to have you come back for the ribbon cutting, and thank you for your leadership and helping us get this off the ground. Now, what is a Viticulture Center? What is a Viticulture Center? Assemblyman Kolb and I couldn't spell it when it was first presented to us, but we support it because what it establishes is the important academic, scientific research and job training that Finger Lakes Community College, in partnering with Cornell, is going to establish. So we hope that that will come and come soon, and that it will continue to support job development in our great Finger Lakes region. Lastly, it was stated, but it cannot be overstated. We have had great economic development partners, job development partners. Brian Kolb and I, working together, have been very fortunate to have our assembly colleagues on both sides of the aisle, like Bob Oakes and Joe Morelli, working hard for us in the Finger Lakes region. One name that wasn't mentioned, he's behind the scenes, but he's Governor Cuomo's agent when Governor Cuomo can't be here. And we call on him. As a matter of fact, his name is not Vinny, it's Call Vinny. Call Vinny Esposito, because Vinny Esposito, where is he? Did he leave already? There he is. Vinny, thank you for the work you do on behalf of Governor Cuomo. And as Governor Cuomo's agent, you've been the glue to keep many of these projects together and ongoing, so thank you for your work. As I leave, I just want to especially thank the Sanz family. Richard, I never called you doctor before, but I certainly stand corrected. Dr. Sanz, Richard and Robert have been a wonderful team for our region. There are many things you see, like this project, but there are countless things you don't see that they work on day in and day out, not for their company, but for the region they love. And Richard, we owe you a great debt. I was honored to know Marvin, and that I know Mickey and Marvin are very, very proud of what you and Robert have accomplished, not just for the company, but for our entire region. And I'm honored to represent that region in the New York State Senate. Thank you very, very much. And he needs no introduction. Alumnus of the Finger Lakes Community College, Assembly Leader Brian Kolb. Brian, thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I think we can do better than that. Good morning, everyone. Well, I got to get some information sharing out of the way immediately. First of all, Governor, I want to excuse all the security we've had here today, but not very often do you have the Assembly Majority Leader, the Assembly Minority Leader, and the Deputy Assembly Minority Leader in one spot. So we had to get all this security in, make sure everything was okay. And my two colleagues over here, and I do want to recognize them again, because Joe Morelli and Bob Oakes are not only great legislators, but they're good friends. And we work together on behalf of our entire region. And if you could just join me one more time in thanking Joe and Bob for being here. Our colleagues in state government, Governor Cuomo, Lieutenant Governor Duffy, Senator Nozzolio, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for the support of this project. Thanks for all the hard work that goes into a very, very tough job. And as when Governor Cuomo first took office 4 years ago, we chatted on the phone, and it was good. And Governor Cuomo said, "I'm looking forward to work with you," and so am I, Governor. And I said, "But there will be days or minutes that we may not see eye to eye on things." He says, "That's okay. Governor, you still there?" And but really, it's about respect and not about party politics. Governor Cuomo and his administration, Governor Cuomo has passion in what he believes in, and I respect that. Just as well as Mike and I and Bob and Joe and Lieutenant Governor Duffy have passion about what we believe in. But it's not about attacking each other personally. It's about having a respectful exchange of ideas and dialogue to really move our state forward, which is what our job is. And so I think at times like this, when we are celebrating a great announcement today for the Canandaigua community, it's also important to reflect that it is not easy to get here on a lot of different fronts. But the objective is to move our state forward and to move our community forward. And that's why all of the people that were involved in this project, all that contributed to their opinions, pro and con, make us better as a community, just like dialogue makes us better as a state. And certainly, we've thanked a whole bunch of people here today, and we should thank them because there's a lot of community volunteers that do not get paid to serve on committees and volunteer their time or ideas and also money. And almost too many names that are actually sitting in this audience today. So I think, how about we just give everybody a round of applause that's here today and thank them for being part of this. Mike earlier mentioned call Vinnie. Well, there's also a lady that we say call Ginny. Ginny Clark, who's right over here. I thought I had a lot of energy. But Ginny Clark, and working on behalf of Constellation Brands, I mean, what you don't know as well is this operation right here, CMAC. Ginny oversees that as well as her corporate duties with Constellation Brands. She's been at the forefront working on behalf of the family with this lakefront development. And she's shaking her head, quit talking about me. But I got to tell you, I've seen firsthand the amount of work and passion that she puts in on behalf of the Sanz family and Constellation Brands and our community. And I just want to say thank you. Now, one other little thing before I go shortly. I'm going to point over at this poster here. Right there. If you get a chance to look at that. Actually, that is Governor Cuomo in his raft gear that he's going to come down. He actually posed for this picture to make sure that he was really part of this. And, Governor, while you're here, and this is the beauty of our region. It really is. I am blessed to represent such a wonderful community. But within a stone's throw, literally, on the beautiful campus of Finger Lakes Community College. This event here, just the other night, held 16,000 people for Luke Bryan. Right down the road is water park that you can go enjoy. If you want to have a little bit more adventure, go up to Bristol Mountain with a new aerial park. We've got restaurants. We've got everything that a community could want to be proud of and display to the world. This project, mixed use, yes, but will further enhance this community in ways we won't even know probably for another 5 to 10 years. And that's the toughest part about a vision. Because having vision, you have to think ahead, and not everybody's going to see that vision, and the toughest job is to try to communicate what that vision is and what its importance is for our region. And a lot of effort, time, sacrifices have been put into this project before one shovel hits the ground. And part of the funding that New York State has been very good about helping with this project is going to be a brownfield remediation. The money that the state is providing, and hopefully a little bit more down the road, is dealing with infrastructure improvements, sewers, transportation, again, our environment. That is an important role for government to play. On the private side, and Governor Cuomo alluded to the first portion of the project, is $48 million in actual investment. Total package eventually, hopefully, will be in excess of 120, maybe $140 million. And so that public-private partnership, private investment, but public investment, but the public investment is a very, very small piece of the entire package. And that's the kickstart a project like this needs. And so hopefully, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we can look back and say, boy, I remember when we were on the stage kicking off this project and Governor Cuomo was here and Lieutenant Governor Duffy was here and everybody was here, and look at us now. So this is about celebrating a vision. And it's taken a lot of hard work to get here, but a lot more hard work to go. And the next person I'm going to introduce to follow me has been talking about this vision for quite some time, for a variety of different city council members that have served with Mayor Palomini. And I know she's just anxious to get up here and share her thoughts. But I just want to say thank you again to all of you for being here today, for all of your support, for all of your input. And Governor Cuomo, thank you again for coming to Canandaigua. And with no further ado, please welcome Mayor Ellen Palomino.
See, I'm getting up in the world here. Well, it is just a delight to be here today, I have to say. But before I begin, I'd like to also recognize some other locally elected officials who are here today. Charlie Evangelista, and I can't see because of the glare, but I know you're out there, and he's from the County Board of Supervisors. He's a city supervisor in the city of Geneva. So thank you for making the effort to be here today. And Karen White from my city council, who has probably had many more meetings than she would ever have thought of having in regard to this project over the past few years. Today is certainly a great day for the city of Canandaigua, and one that we've been waiting for a long, long, long time. Right, George? Canandaigua Lake and its shoreline is one of our greatest, most beautiful assets because it draws tourists, visitors, and helps make our city a place where people want to live, to work, to raise their families, and to play. I know the governor has been personally interested in what is happening here on the North Shore, and his efforts and leadership in securing this funding was key to today's announcement. And I think, as you heard when he was speaking, his devotion to seeing things happen in upstate New York is real, and we certainly are seeing the results of it. Seeing this final piece of funding for this project be delivered is exciting for the city and for all of our residents. Daily, I have been questioned by people saying, we're tired of driving along this site and seeing the rundown buildings and the wasted space on such a beautiful spot. When will something happen? I explained that projects of this magnitude take time and the work of many stakeholders. And we've been fortunate to have many people interested in developing this North Shore. I'm going to take a moment to mention a few. First of all, to start with David Gineco, who amassed all of the properties that were needed to create this site. And then we had the CADC, which was spoken of earlier, which was responsible for the preliminary work that was needed so that we could issue RFPs and bring on the group Morgan LaChase and become partners with them. I want to thank Governor Cuomo, actually, and the legislative members who are here today for their tireless efforts as advocates for this project from day one. And listening to all of the two legislators and the governor who spoke today, I have to say we should really package you and maybe send you to Washington, and maybe we could see something similar to this happen, because I'll tell you, you work together. We often hear promises from elected officials, and it's such good news to be able to say they do deliver, they will help you get the work done. And so, Governor, we are really very grateful for you and for the state for making this happen for us here in Canandaigua, and we will invite you back when we have an opening, hopefully within 2 or 3 years. All right. Thank you all for coming today and being so patient with us. And if you haven't had an opportunity to take a look at what is being offered here, please do. And again, thanks everyone for coming, especially the governor. It's also my pleasure to welcome back to the podium our Lieutenant Governor. So stand here, Bob.
Actually,
No. No, the purpose is to, well, I'm getting
it's
there.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Thanks,
Thank
Barry.
you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Thank you. Now I can see George Hamlin. I just want to close by thanking all the speakers who are here today. Special thanks to CMAC. Ginny Clark has been recognized. A phenomenal job at CMAC. And also the New York Wine and Culinary Center. A lot of work behind the scenes to make this happen. So I want to thank Ginny. Steve Williams, an old colleague of mine on her team, and all the men and women who worked on this and made this possible. Our legislators, I want to thank all the speakers. Two final thanks. First of all, to our governor. And the mayor mentioned this before. I hope you take away this note. What you saw up here, the collegiality that you saw with the governor, with Senator Zolio, with Assembly Minority Leader Kolb. You don't see that in states across this country or in a nation's capital. That's how things get done. There was a time in this state's history where economic development was done along partisan lines, not with this governor, ever. I've never heard a governor once say or ask about party affiliation. He does what's right around the state. He works with people, and that's really what gets things done. It's about leadership. It's about collegiality and teamwork, and I think the mayor hit that point. That should not be lost on us all, because that's why things like this happen, because of that kind of teamwork. The last thank you is to Dr. Richard Sanz, to his brother Rob, to the Sanz family. Phenomenal impact really around the globe, but right back here in the Finger Lakes and here in Canandaigua. I want to thank them and their team for the great leadership and all the team on this project. It took a long time to get here, but the most important thing is it got here, and it's going to be a transformation. And for those that are old, like myself and Dr. Sanz and others here, Roseland Park, we used to go to in the same site a long time ago, there's going to be a transformation coming here. And people will be streaming into Canandaigua, and tourism brings jobs, it brings a lot of opportunities, so it really is a great day. So thank you all for coming, and have a great day.